Hi YouTubers, Jen True here, the True Valley Life channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. So today's video is about trip planning, specifically for a day hike, or even like an overnighter, but specifically a day hike. So I've been hiking a long time, and one of the things that I do when I go on a hike, any hike, whether it be a day hike that is just, you know, I got a 2-mile rule, but anyway, we'll talk more about that in a minute. It's more for the 14 essential video that I plan on doing shortly, but I'll touch upon it. But anyway, I'll do it right now. So the 2-mile rule is if I'm more than 2 miles from my car, then I bring my 14 essentials. So that's my 2-mile rule, but I'll touch upon the 14 essentials in another video. Anyway, back to the trip planning. So no matter the length of no matter the length of the hike, whether it be like a short day hike, 2-mile rule, or a long day hike, 12, 14 miler up in the mountains, I will write a plan itinerary for the hike. And on the back, I'll put the hiker names in the hiking party, names, addresses, phone number, contact information, emergency contact information. And then that way you just leave it on underneath the seat when, you know, at the trailhead, and God forbid something happens and you don't, you know, get back. You also write the date in which you plan to hike, the start date and the end date. And then, you know, at least your, you know, itinerary is then known, and so one usually sticks to the itinerary unless something goes wrong. So it's just a good idea. The other things I like to note in my trip plan is that, you know, obviously where the trailhead is, any, you know, specifics about trails, but very short, because you don't want to be carrying a bunch of stuff. So for instance, I hiked Mount Hale a week ago. It's not a very hard hike. It's just a little over 2 miles. So just about 4.5 out and back. And it's not difficult, but a few trail notes I made. The length of the trip, the elevation gain, the trailhead, the little trail notes like yellow blazed, when there is a water source, at what mile, you know, when or what trail crossing, things like that. And then cool things like sometimes it's, you know, birch forest, or if you see, you know, an old fireplace in the middle of the woods, or it could be an old railroad or something like that. Sometimes, you know, you find these little hidden gems in the middle of the woods, and signs of, you know, just the past. So it's kind of fun. Other things to note, did a little overnighter, Mount Cabot, back in 2013. This is the actual trail card that I brought. You know, just notes about the trailhead, you know, the mileage, the elevation gain, like I said, obviously what trails to take. And, you know, you always want to bring a map of the area, a good map, not a paper map. You know, try to get, you know, one of those nice Tyvek maps. That's important. That will also be on the 14 essentials. But then, you know, note direction is a big one. If you ever get lost, you know, you obviously, one of the essentials is a compass. Learn how to navigate, know the trails, read ahead, get good guides, you know, on the area in which you're hiking in, and read about the trail and the trip. Preparation is everything. Being prepared for your hike is number one. And many things go in line with preparation, right from eating right, hydration, obviously reading about the route ahead of time, knowing where your water is. If there isn't any water offered on the trail, you got to carry it in, and things like that. So I always read, and if I'm going on, you know, a day hike, even if you don't have time to write this whole itinerary, maybe I suggest just taking like a photocopy of the page or 2 or 3 or whatever out of the guide that you plan to use to plan your trip, and that will help, because you can't remember everything, especially when you're on the trail. you know, not only are you fighting exhaustion, you're hungry, you know, you're drinking as much water as you can depending on the time of year. You know, you're not going to remember everything that you read in your guide. So it's really helpful, you know, to have different resources with you. I would not suggest carrying this in your backpack. It's heavy. So other little things to note, you know, not only, you know, direction, south, north, northwest, whatever. Maybe like where there might be a plan B, like sometimes there's huts or actual tent sites in the middle of the backcountry. If you plan to stealth camp, that's really cool. I love to do that too. But sometimes knowing where there's an actual site can be helpful in case. You know, you never know. You sprained ankle, something like that, injury, whatever. Just nice to know the plan B and to have one. Other trail notes, like if you are planning to do a quick overnighter, you know, do you need to bear a bag, or, you know, is there a cache there that you're able to use? Where's the water? Is it plentiful? Do you need to plan ahead on your water? You should always plan ahead, but super plan ahead if there isn't any water on the trail. And make sure they're reliable, because it depends on the time of year if the water is reliable or not. And then again, maybe note like sunrise, sunset times, just to help, because it helps you kind of gauge where you need to be when and where. So, you know, those are just a few of my recommendations when it comes to trip planning. Read ahead, have a good itinerary, always leave that itinerary with a loved one back home, and have a target time of when you plan to be home. And then I always have the 24-hour rule. I tell my wife, don't freak out until I'm not home 24 hours, because sometimes things happen and you gotta just spend the night, especially even on a day hike, it happens. So, you know, and then after 24 hours, you know, then, you know, you start making phone calls and such, but never happened, so knock on wood. We're just gonna hope that, yeah, anyway, moving on. So, yeah, plan ahead, that's everything. Be prepared, again, practice your skills, get outside. You know, tell me what you're doing, drop it in the comments. I want to know. I've been on a couple day hikes so far this year. It's been great. Planning an overnighter and a 3-day trip coming up. Definitely try to remember my camera. I forgot it on the last couple day hikes here, so my bad. But again, always have a map of the area. You know, try to plan ahead. Preparation is everything. Guides. Don't rely on GPS. Plus, you know, it's kind of half the fun of being out there is to keep your skills sharp, because you can't always rely on electronics and technology to see you through, because they can fail. They can run out of batteries. They can be affected by the magnetic draw of some of the rock formations or the mountains, whatever that you're hiking, and different things. So I just always recommend know how to use your map, know how to use your compass. They're light, and it's great to kind of be tied to the roots and do the things that people have been doing for hundreds of years. I don't know, there's something about nature. I love being in nature, truly enjoy it. So I hope you all do too. And again, get outside, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. Been a little bit of time since I posted a video, but I promise I'm going to be back at it, and you should be expecting a video from me every few days or at least once a week. So thanks again, and stay tuned for more. So have a great night. Bye now.